Good morning, and thank you to everyone for joining us on the webinar today. My name is Damien and I am an account manager for AMS. I'm joined by my colleague Neil, who will be taking us through a demo of the document management accounts payable software later. Before we start, I just want to go through a bit of housekeeping. When you joined the meeting, a dialog box should have opened. So in the bottom right hand corner there's a text box where you can type in any questions during the webinar. We'll be doing a bit of a Q&A session at the end so we can cover off these questions that have been raised. And there should also be a link to full screen mode that will really help during the demo. So you may want to click view and full screen if you haven't already. So this is the agenda that we're hoping or planning to cover today. We'll just do a brief introduction to who AMS and Docuware are. We'll be looking at an example accounts payable process and common issues that are experienced. Then we'll be doing an online poll, so we're trying to find out what you think are the biggest issues within your organisation. Then Neil will be taking us through a demo of the software and we'll look at typical benefits that are expected. Then we'll look at the two versions available. We have cloud or on-premise. And then we'll talk about the kind of services that we offer to help you through the next steps within a document management project. Then there'll be a quick summary and a question and answer session. So it's probably worth explaining a bit about AMS and Docuware. Docuware are the manufacturers of the document management software that we supply to our customers. AMS are a technology company situated in Bournemouth, and we specialise in solutions for document management and secure information exchange. We are a supplier and support centre for solutions including Docuware, Managed File Transfer, CloudFax and WriteFax. AMS and Docuware are both well-established companies with over 50 years experience between us. We're a Docuware Gold partner, so you know all of our team are fully trained consultants and engineers. We also provide custom development services if you have a bespoke requirement. So what is Docuware? Docuware is a comprehensive document management solution with modules for almost all requirements. Some of the key departments that use Docuware include finance, HR, sales and purchasing, but any department with a document-driven process can take advantage of the software. Today we're being very specific and we're focusing on one process and one department, but you may find the topics that we talk about relate to other areas within your business. So here's an example of a typical accounts payable process. Invoices arrive by post or email. They're then sent on to the accounts team. The invoices are often registered with the back office system, so you can generate a reference number or they're stamped. Then copies are assigned to the relevant cost centre and sent out to the authoriser via internal post or scanned and emailed. If approved, the invoices are signed or stamped and referenced with a budget code and sent back to accounts for processing. And once returned, the invoice is registered with the back office system and queued for payment. Paper invoices are then filed away or electronic copies stored in some kind of network directory structure for future reference. So here are some typical challenges that our customers raise when we talk to them about their invoice process. The authorization process is laborious and takes a long time. Sometimes this can result in late payments, which doesn't go down well with our suppliers. Mistakes can happen, and losing or misfiling an invoice can cause serious problems. We waste a lot of time searching for documents or creating a duplicate. It's difficult to know where invoices are in the approval process. It could be sat on someone's desk while they're on holiday, or it's buried under a load of other documents and the whole process comes to a halt. Obviously this is for those who still use paper, but there can be a cost associated with filing cabinets and archive boxes. It's also very time consuming, managing the retention periods and destroying those documents, and if something happened like a natural disaster and you lost all of your paperwork, what would be the impact to the business? We're spending a lot of time looking for documents, and it's a real headache for the team when there's a lot to do, and a large proportion of our time is spent on administration. And our workers are now mobile. The managers have tablets, and if they're out of the office, they can't access or authorize invoices, and that causes delays and bottlenecks in the whole process. Okay, so here's the quick poll that we mentioned earlier. We can just launch that. So you should see, obviously on the presentation, but also on your screen, some options. It would be really good to find out what you think or see is the biggest issue within your current accounts payable process. Okay, that's almost everyone. If we just last couple of people could vote, that'd be brilliant. Okay, great. That's really useful to know. So I think it's quite clear for our attendees today. The biggest issue is time, but also bottlenecks and delays in the process seem to come in kind of a close second. So at this point, I'll hand over to Neil, and he'll take you through a demonstration of the software so you can see what it's like to use and see how it might kind of work within your teams and departments.
Thanks, Damien. Okay, so just to give you an overview of the demo we're running through today, I have Docuware installed on my laptop here, and all of the Windows accounts you see cover a particular department and process of an organization. For the purpose of the demo, we have created a company called Peter's Engineering, and they manufacture and sell roller coasters. So during the demo, I'll give a short introduction to the main Docuware web interface, how to index documents, how to assign invoices to a cost center and pay them, and how to search for documents. So if we just log in as our accounts administrator, Peggy Jenkins. So this is the main Docuware web interface. At the top, you have your document trays, which are like your in trays on your desk. The document pool are where you search for your documents in filing cabinets or folders within filing cabinets. Your tasks are created as a result of a workflow action. And on the right-hand side is a preview pane to view the document or invoice that you're indexing. So there's a really unique feature in Docuware called intelligent indexing. And this reduces the time users spend filing documents as it automatically populates the index fields for you. So as you can see on the left here, we have 4 invoices which have already been scanned into Docuware, and the intelligent indexing service has already scanned the documents and used a traffic light system to show the level of confidence that the index information is correct and safe for indexing. So green is confident in the index information selected, yellow will need checking over, and red will mean the system hasn't seen this type of index before. So let's go ahead and index a couple of these invoices into Docuware. So the first is this US Steel invoice. So it's actually a recognized document. It came green in the traffic light system. And what we can do is actually go down each of the index fields that are specific to this document. And on the right-hand side, it highlights where in yellow where it's pulled the criteria from. So you can very quickly and easily determine if the index information is correct. So we're happy with that, and we'll go ahead and store the invoice. Okay, next we have a mobile bill from Phone Wizard. So again, we'll go ahead and store this. It's a recognized document, so the indexing service is confident with the index information. So again, we'll just go through, cross-reference the information. We're happy that it's pulled in the correct index criteria, and we can go ahead and store the document. And finally, we have the storage experts invoice. The intelligent indexing service wasn't so confident with the index information in this one, and it actually assigned it a yellow traffic light. So we just go ahead and confirm the index information it's unsure about. So as you can see, just by scrolling down, it was correct with the index fields it found, and we can go ahead and store the invoice with confidence. So the system learns, so the more you index, the better the system gets. So the next time it sees these types of documents, specifically the yellow one, it will be more confident that the information is correct and eventually go green. So from storing these invoices, it's now activated a workflow in the background. Okay, so if we click on tasks, because I'm an accounts administrator, I now have been assigned 3 tasks. The other one will come through shortly. Each have been created for me to assign the previous invoices to a cost center. So this is our US steel invoice. Okay, so we can confirm the amount at the bottom and who it's for, and we'll assign it to manufacturing in this case. So you notice I use a stamp tool there, and it gives us a pre-populated list of cost centers to select from. And we just pop the stamp anywhere on the invoice. Okay, next is our phone bill from Phone Wizard. Again, using the stamp tool, we'll assign this one to 2 cost centers because manufacturing and sales are both responsible for part of that bill. And we'll pop the stamp on the invoice. So just one thing to note here, stamps can be in text or image format. In image format, you could have an image of something specific or even a signature. And the last invoice we'll assign to purchasing. Okay, so now we get to the approval part of the invoice process. So what we'll do is log in as our production manager, Brian Ford. And if we just load up his Outlook profile, he should have received an email informing him that he has a couple of invoices which need approval. Okay, so we have the US Steel and Phone Wizard here. So if we click on the US Steel invoice, you'll see here there's a message body, there's a couple of links. The first link will open up the individual invoice, and the second link has been configured to open up the whole task list, which we'll use today, and it just enables the user to be able to approve invoices in quick succession. So if we open up the US Steel invoice, we can confirm the amount as Brian Ford, and we'll use the tool on the left here, bottom left, as it just gives us a quick approval of the amount, and we just hit confirm. Again, the Phone Wizard bill, we'll approve this one, and as I said before, we assigned it to both manufacturing and sales, so I'm only responsible as Brian Ford for a proportionate amount of this bill, so we'll approve a couple of £100 less on this one and hit confirm. So now we'll switch users to our sales manager, Fred Winner, and we'll load up his email, and he would have actually received a notification to approve the second half of the phone bill. So we've got the notification here from Phone Wizard, and we'll click the link to load up the individual invoice. We'll just log in. and we'll hit approve, and it just gives us the final portion of that bill to confirm. Okay, so previously Brian Ford approved the US Steel invoice for just over £1 million, and because the invoice is over a certain value, in our case it was £5,000, it needs to have a higher level of authorization before it can be processed by Peggy Jenkins in accounts payable. So it's actually been assigned to our CFO, which is Elizabeth Cash. So if we load up Elizabeth's email profile, and indeed she's received an email informing her that she needs to approve an invoice over the £5,000 threshold. So again, we'll log in. Really good overview here. It shows you the previous stamps that have been put on this US Steel invoice. So originally assigned by Peggy Jenkins and authorised by Brian Ford. So as Elizabeth Cash, the CFO, I can now confirm that the CFO approval part of this has been finished. So if we log back in as Peggy Jenkins, our accounts administrator. So I've now received the 2 invoices back into my task list to pay, and these have obviously just been approved. So in particular, the US Steel invoice. And we can go ahead and pay this. We're happy that it's all been signed off, and we'll pay this one in particular by backs. And then we have the mobile phone wizard bill. So we just double check that everything looks okay. We can see the previous people that have approved it, and we'll just go ahead and pay this by direct debit, for example. Now the third invoice, which we assigned to purchasing, hasn't yet come back into my task list. So as an accounts administrator, I have a management overview of any outstanding tasks. So if I click on the task menu at the top and all tasks, you'll see that the storage experts invoice is stuck in the check invoice stage. So if we actually scroll or highlight this and scroll to the right hand side, it will enable us to see that it's stuck with our purchasing admin user. And I know that this purchasing admin user is on holiday. So as an accounts administrator, I could either choose to reassign this invoice to another manager, and from there they can approve it. And also just to let you know, the activities for here can actually be reassigned based on an out of office as well. So they could be reassigned automatically if it receives an out of office from a user. Okay, so we've completed the workflow process from start to finish, and I can now show you quickly how easy it is to search and retrieve documents within Docuware. So if we open up our document pool, as you know, finding an invoice can be difficult, whether it's stored in a network directory or within a filing cabinet, but in Docuware we can search on all previous index information and also perform a full text search as our documents have all been OCR'd. So in this case we'll search for the company US Steel and hit search. Now what this has done, it will retrieve all documents given the permission that exists within Docuware, so I'm able to view them very quickly. If we change the search, we can add an additional filter of document type, and we can select invoice in and hit search, and this will pull back the single entry of the invoice in, which we've actually just indexed a moment ago during the workflow process. And finally, if we change the search and reset the criteria, there is a full text search just to show you the capabilities of the OCR engine. And if we search for a specific term within an invoice and hit search, it does indeed pull back a single entry and also highlights the available text, or where it's actually matched the text from within the invoice. So it's a very powerful search tool if you don't necessarily know the original index information. Okay, so we've gone through the invoice approval process from the invoice coming in and the invoice being paid. We've looked at how the search and retrieval processes react within Docuware. So now I'll pass you back over to Damien, who will continue with the rest of the webinar. Thanks very much.
Great stuff. Thanks, Neil. So if we get back to, there we go. Brilliant stuff. Okay, so I'll pick up from the demo and go through the rest of the presentation. So why do organisations implement document management systems? One of the biggest drivers we see is time to process an invoice and the time spent administering this process. So Neil just showed the electronic workflow and email notifications in the demo. So this keeps the invoice moving through the approval process and helps speed up the turnaround time and avoids late payments. Customers have experienced better relationships with their suppliers and less complaints because documents are not lost or misfiled, and users can find documents easily and quickly to answer invoice queries. Reducing paper seems to be a key strategy for most businesses. With Docuware, you'll be able to save all of your documents electronically, eliminating the cost and space required to store physical documents. It can be stressful and frustrating when things go wrong. Having a slicker and more controlled workflow reduces the administration overhead on users and can make a big difference to team morale. Users have the time they need to spend on more productive tasks rather than administration. So using the tools in Docuware, managers can see where every invoice is, whether it's overdue or it's been stuck at a particular stage for too long, like Neil showed, where you can reassign it to another person if that person's on holiday or it's kind of just come to a bottleneck in the process. This will help you identify those obstacles and avoid delays. We have native apps for Android, iOS and Windows Mobile, so users and managers can access information on the move and authorize or reject invoices regardless of location. There are two different models available with Docuware. We have on-premise or in the cloud, and we can work with you to find out what's the best fit for your organization, but here are some of the common reasons why you might choose one or the other. Cloud's very popular because there's no installation required. All you need to get started is the web address. There's nothing to install in your network. The client runs on all established web browsers, and we can also provide desktop apps if you have special requirements and functions. It's maintenance free, so you don't have to look after anything. Docuware runs around the clock in the cloud. You don't have to manage a server, and if you've got a stress on your IT overhead, it's quite a motivating factor where you might go for cloud. Anytime, anywhere. So Docuware Cloud is available to you whether at home, in the office or traveling. All you need is an internet connection. And you only pay for what you need. We have a range of packages to suit all requirements, including something called a flex package, which can be tailored to the number of users and documents you require. On-premise is often a personal preference. A lot of organizations just prefer to have their software and systems installed in their network. Security also plays a big part, so some organizations are very strict about storing their data off-premise. This is probably the key driver where businesses choose on-premise over cloud. And while cloud offers almost all the functionality of the on-premise software, if you do need a particular integration with your back office systems, on-premise may be the better option. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the webinar, so a quick summary of what we discussed. Document management doesn't have to be daunting. AMS have the experience and resource to support you throughout the review and the delivery of your project. Docuware is a mature and trusted solution used worldwide by over 14,000 organizations. We can make a real difference to the accounts payable process by managing the movement of the invoice through each step and streamlining the whole workflow. As an organization, you'll be able to improve customer service, and increase productivity by making it easier to search and retrieve documents, at least eliminating wasted time and frustration. So, next steps. These are the services we offer when a customer is interested in kind of investigating what document management can do for them. So we can provide an engineering resource to help you on a conference call and talk about your requirement in more detail, or we can come to your offices to meet with you and discuss what you're currently doing and what the goals of the organisation are. We also offer services to help you find out how this might work for you, such as workshops with the teams involved and one-to-one web demos. We can also work with you to scope out the project and put together a business case and help you identify the benefits that your organisation are looking to achieve. Okay, I hope that's been useful, and now we'll kind of look at the questions that have been raised during the webinar.
Okay, so we've got a couple of questions here. Feel free as well if you wish to post a couple more. It's on the right hand side on the control panel applet. So one in particular is, if we scan in a large batch of invoices, how do you separate them? Okay, it's a good question. There's a couple of different ways to separate invoices. So you could either use, for instance, a barcode sticker on the first page of every invoice that you're scanning in. It could also be printed on the first page. You could even use a blank page separator, or even separate on keywords that it finds on the first page of the invoice. There's a couple of different ways to split large batches of invoices that have been scanned in. Another one here. Can you link documents such as POs and invoices? Okay, so yes, you can. There's actually a very good tool within Docuware, and it allows you to link the documents via, for instance, a project number or via a PO, so that if you, for instance, right-clicked on a particular document, it would produce a menu, and you click Link to Documents, and it could then find automatically the other documents that have the same index criteria. So very quickly and easily you could collate information based on a single PO.
Okay, so we've got another one here. Yeah, we didn't show you this today, so it's a good question. Is there any integration with other applications? Yeah, there's a few actually. There's the Outlook connector is pretty popular. So you can have a button in the ribbon bar with an Outlook, which makes it really easy to store documents from email directly into the document management system. There's also some search features in there as well. There's an SAP native connector, so it natively integrates with the SAP system. And we also have a Smart Connect button, which is a universal way of connecting with any application without the need for kind of programming that connector.
Okay, so we've got another couple here.
So that probably links actually to Lynn's question on how does it link into an accounting package such as Sage. So yeah, in that situation you probably use Smart Connect, so you can have the button floating over Sage, so that when you're in a, say if you're in a supplier record, you could click the Connect button and that would go straight to those documents or those invoices.
We've got another one here. With the cloud-based option, where is the data stored? So all of the data is stored within the EU. It's actually a Microsoft Azure backend cloud system. So it's backed by Microsoft, and it's stored in Dublin and backed up to Amsterdam. I think it actually has a triple backup as well. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, I kind of mentioned the integration option, but Shannon's also brought up the Iris Exchequer integration. So again, you probably use Smart Connect, but there's also an auto-index module which can integrate with the back-end via a database connection. So that's something might be worth talking about in more detail. Oh yeah, Lynn's just obviously mentioned a similar kind of thing. Is there an option to transfer the data into Sage? Not sure how the invoice data details get into the accounting cafe. So yeah, exactly the same. There is a connector which works with back-end databases where you can verify data against it, you can update that data, or you can capture data from it and put it into the document management system.
Okay, we're just reading another couple here. Do you have clients that have linked Docuware to Sun accounts? I'm not familiar with the terminology Sun accounts, so Jackie, we could get back to you after this presentation if that's okay on that one.
Yeah.
And then we could just discuss that in a little bit more detail.
Jackie's mentioned also we have a more complicated invoice coding structure rather than just cost centers. Cost centers will get the invoices to the correct authorizer. However, authorizers need to let us in finance know how an expense code, project code, cross-cutting code, etc. The workflow module in Docuware is very comprehensive. It's quite a sophisticated tool, and you can provide kind of value-based workflows, decision-based workflows, so you can manipulate it to however the process currently works in your environment, and just turn that into to an electronic process. So yes, I'm sure it could do what you are looking for. But again, it's probably worth something talking about in a bit more detail. And there was something also about the OCRing. So all documents are OCR'd when they are scanned or saved into Docuware. So this, you saw the intelligent indexing process. The OCR feature helps that, so it's capturing the data from the document and populating those index fields. But it also means that the entire document is fully text searchable. So if you can't remember something, if you do remember a word or a phrase or something that's mentioned in a document, you can use the full text searching to retrieve that.
Okay, thanks, Damien. Another one here is there an app for this? So I'm guessing that's a Docuware app. Yes, there is. So it's supported on Android, Windows Phone and Apple, and it allows you, essentially, the invoice approval process that we just showed you, it allows you to do that via a mobile app.
Yeah, it's quite funny. You can capture the invoices, can't you, and then it goes into the approval workflow, so you can actually approve it on the move.
Exactly that, yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Apologies if we didn't answer your question, but we've got them, so we'll get back to you after the webinar with that information. Okay, well, we're at the end of the webinar now, so thank you for everyone's time today. I just wanted to kind of go through some additional resources. So here's a list of further options that might be useful to you. Please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook or Twitter, and there's lots of useful documents on our website. There'll be a post-webinar survey as you leave the webinar. If you could take a few minutes to complete it, it will really help us to find out how we did today and what you found most useful, so that maybe we can work on that on the next one. So thank you for everyone's time. If the webinar has raised some questions or uncovered something that you would like to talk about within your organisation, we'll be keen to hear from you. If you've got our personal email addresses, please feel free to contact us directly, or if you don't have that information, feel free to email the sales@ams-ltd.com address to arrange an initial call or meeting. Thanks again, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.